I will put it on Google Classroom also. I will put it on Google Classroom. What is the time for the paper? What is the time slot given to it?
So 11:45 to 12:45.
Okay. So around 11:45, I'm going to put up that paper on Google Classroom, and I would expect you people to turn in whatever you have done. Uh, you know, uh, to answer the questions. I would want you to I would want you people to put it up by 12:55. So anybody, so turn it in by this time. Turned in इस time तक हो जाना चाहिए. Anybody who's late, I will not consider their answers and whatever they have got as a result of answering questions on the examiner in an MCQ format. Those marks will be recorded. So the paper is going to be on examiner. But and you'll have again 10 questions I'll give you. I'll not give you more than that. So 10 questions would be, and you'll get a MCQ type exam. But these questions are going to be such that you'll have to solve. So just because you're getting an incorrect answer in the MCQ should not, be there to penalize you. It should not be that either you get a 0 or you get a 5. So, and of course, the test is going to be for 50 marks. Every question is for 5 marks. So just to ensure that you just don't get a 0 or a 5, no matter how much effort you put in. So I would want that there is some level of step marking there. So for that, I would want you people to use A4 sheets, clean and clear. अगर नहीं है तो लेके आ जाओ बाजार से. A4 sheets पे you will write clear solutions to whatever you're doing. Okay, and when you make the solutions, be very careful, because if I see the solutions similar and your answer incorrect, then I'm not going to regard that question for step marking. So the idea is to be fair to you, but if you start using unfair means, then you will land into trouble and I'm not going to give you any marks. In fact, I will just not check your paper. So correct solutions obviously will match, but if I see that two people have the same incorrect solution up to the same stage, then there is a problem, and then I will not check either of those papers. So I would want you people to write whatever you're doing clearly. So it'll be just like you're giving an exam offline and you're just entering the correct answer in examiner and moving ahead. So once you've written things on A4, whatever you've written, please write it very legibly, so that you can turn it in on Google Classroom by 12:55, and whatever marks you get in examiner, they're okay, but I will look into how you have arrived at the answer, and if there is some credibility to what you have done, and maybe up to some step you were right and then you faltered, so I will give you some step marking, so your marks will increase. Again, here also I'm particularly interested to see the papers of those students who will score less than 25. In the MCQ, I will release the marks as soon as the time is over. So that means that at 12:45, when the paper ends, I'll give you a buffer of 5 minutes. So the examiner paper will start at 11:45. The window will start at 11:45 and the window will end at 12:50. So the minute it ends at 12:50, you're going to get a mail for your marks, and you will know your marks, right, from examiner. So, but I am telling you that I'll also get a response for your marks. So I will be particularly interested to see how those students have done their paper who are actually less than 25. So I'll be first checking their papers and responding them back on Google Classroom only. And of course, I'll look at the papers of everyone, but they are going to be the priority, because I don't want anybody scoring less just because they gave a paper on Examiner and the questions were of subjective type, but they had to, answer it objectively. So that is the basic idea here. And I hope that people like this idea, and we can, adopt it maybe later also sometimes. Second midterm is not going to be an exam type, proceedings. We'll have some sort of a continuous evaluation. I'll be taking regular quizzes once the Shara gets over and we come back to classes. So we'll decide a day on which we'll have these quizzes. It'll be a pre-decided day. I would prefer that it's not a class time, because then the class will suffer. So we'll see what time, and so those quizzes will be the ones that will determine your marks in the second session. So all of you should attempt them and do them quite honestly and religiously. उधर सारे क्वेश्चंस जो होंगे वो एमसीक्यू टाइप ही होंगे, उसमें कुछ सब्जेक्टिव नहीं होगा. तो जो भी मार्क्स क्विज में आ रहे हैं वो ही जोड़ेंगे. ओके, now let's go to some questions on sampling and reconstruction. So the first question is, and I'll be asking you people how you're doing it. So please be ready with your pen and paper. So if suppose I say that xt is cos 4000 pi t, okay, and I am sampling this at a time instant. I'm sampling it at a regular interval of this second. So my question is, find xn. What will be the discrete time sequence? So I'm waiting for an answer from someone. So please solve it and let me know what do you get. Can anybody give me an answer? Okay, let me ask. Anand, can you give me an answer to this? Anand is not there. Okay, Ishan, can you give me an answer to this?
Sir, not yet.
Why is it taking so much time? It's a very simple question. How are you going to solve other big questions? This is should not have taken more than 10 seconds for everybody. कोई है बताएगा आंसर इसका? What signal will you achieve?
Sir,
Yes, Anand, bolo.
x of 2n pi by 3.
Not x of 2n pi by 3. Tell me what is the final answer, as in it'll obviously be in terms of cos. So what will that be? That is what I'm asking. So you are right that there'll be a term of cos 2 pi n by 3. It is correct. So if this is what you're saying, then you're right. Why did you miss out on this cos? Cos will be there. So see, the idea is this. If you remember, we used to create a signal xst which was xcmt, and we call it, once you put a value of t, or you know normalize it with respect to t, whatever, then you get xn. That is basically the idea. So all you need to do in problems like these is that you substitute t is equal to nt in xct. So if you do that, you're going to get a signal which is cos 4000 pi into nt. Now this is basically xct, right? This is basically your xst also. So you can, let me just write it like this. So how do we obtain xn from this? We normalize with respect to t. That means we divide the time axis with respect to capital T. But in this case, we don't need to divide anything because you're already given t. So you just substitute it. So if you substitute t, then you can simply write, because now the t term goes away and some number comes away. So it goes away. So it becomes cos 4000 pi divided by 6,000, sorry. So that comes out to be cos 2 pi by 3. So now for a continuous time signal, which is this is your discrete time signal. If you are sampling the signal at a sampling interval of 1/6000 seconds, then this is the signal that you get. If you are sampling it at some other frequency, some other time or some other frequency, if you suppose you say you're sampling it at 12,000, then your xn is going to be cos 4000 pi divided by 12,000. So then whatever you get cos pi by 3. Right? This goes away. And sorry, there is an n also. So you get cos n pi by 3. So this is basically your xn. So depending upon the sampling interval, you will get a distinct xn. Okay, now the next question is, in this case is, so again, let me just, rephrase it, rewrite it. Suppose I say that your signal is cos 4000 pi t, and I'm sampling it at an interval which is 6,000 seconds. Same, okay? The question is as follows. Will there be aliasing? Will there be aliasing? So please, when aliasing happens, what is aliasing? If you remember, aliasing is that if you have a spectrum like this, a general spectrum, and when you do the sampling, you get a spectrum in which you get these overlaps. When you get these overlaps, then this thing here, and this thing here, and this thing here, and this thing here, these are the things that denote aliasing. And the downside is that you cannot recover your signal back. So my question is, if you're given this signal and if you're given this sampling interval, then will there be aliasing, or will there be not?
So not in this case.
No, sir.
Not in this case. Okay, yeah, that's actually the correct answer, and you can actually look at it. So if you look at the signal here, then the maximum frequency of this signal is 4000 pi. Okay, and this is radians per second. And we know that the sampling frequency is going to be 2 pi by t. So that comes out to be 12,000 pi radians per second. And aliasing will occur if sigma s is less than 2 times sigma m. 2 times sigma m is going to be, so this value is going to be 8000 pi according to this problem, and this is 12,000 pi. So obviously this inequality doesn't exist. So that means that aliasing is not going to happen, and you will be able to recover the signal back because there is no aliasing. The sampling interval is okay for this signal, and there will not be a problem. Now let's look at some other aspect of this problem. Let's look at some spectrum plotting. So if you have cos 4000 pi t, then my question is, what would this spectrum look like? Xc j omega, or sometimes I write it as xc omega. What would this spectrum will look like? Spectrum means now you're plotting the Fourier transform. That means the amplitude of the signal versus the frequency.
Sir, impulse functions.
Yeah. So you'll get you should not call it impulse functions. There's just impulses, and those impulses are going to be located where, Ishan?
Sir, on so there is x plus f and x minus f. That sort of a transform.
Yeah,
for this.
yeah. So basically, the transform is basically you get a pi, and then you have a delta function, which is at 4000 pi, and you'll get a delta function which is at minus 4000. So this looks like something like this. So you have one impulse here, another impulse here. This part, this is this part, and this part is this one, and you have minus 4000 pi. Right, thank you. And the amplitude is pi. So this is the spectrum. Now, as an exercise, tell me what is the spectrum of. So now the next question is spectrum of xs j omega. What would this look like? So try to solve them and give me the spectrum up to first order. When I say first order, I mean the main spectrum and two subspectrums on the left and right. So that means if you if you remember this was to be basically 1 upon t actually it will be 1 upon pi t. So 1 upon pi t summation xc j omega minus omega s, if you remember. So k varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, if you remember this. So tell me what would this be?
Sir, now the same impulses just keep going on till infinity.
Yeah, so I would want you people to give me at what different frequencies will there be impulses. That is what I want. So this is basically a replica of that signal shifted left and shifted right to different orders. K is equal to 1 means one shift. K is equal to 2 means you're shifted twice with respect to the original signal. But what are the frequencies? At what frequencies will you have impulses? That is what I'm interested in.
Sir, we'll need the value of the sampling rate for that.
So I've already given it to you, na, that capital T is 1 upon 6,000. The same question is continuing. So from here you can evaluate omega s. That will be just 2 pi by t, which is 12,000 pi. So use that and tell me what will be the shifted frequencies and where all will you get an impulse in this case.
Sir, so like the first one would be 4,000 pi and minus 4,000 pi, and then it would go from 4,000 pi plus 6,000 plus 12,000 pi and 4,000 pi minus 12,000 pi.
Yeah. So let's say that this spectrum is here, and this spectrum is here, and this is okay. So let me just plot it as omega into 10 to the power 3. So I'm scaling it here. So this becomes 4 and this becomes minus 4. Okay, so this is basically the original signal, but of course the amplitude gets affected by a factor of capital T. Then next is that, as Ishan said, that we are going to shift towards, so if k is equal to 1, so this part corresponds to k is equal to 0. Then if we come to k equal to 1, then the center frequency now is, initially it was 0, but now it shifts to so basically let me just pi into 10 to the power 3 into pi. So we take the pi part also here, so that I'm just writing numbers here. So this becomes 12. So now it will be 12 plus 4, so you will get 1 at 16, and you will get 1 here at minus 12 minus 8. So this part will correspond to k is equal to 1. Similarly, on this side, you will have minus 12, and there will be one part which will be at minus 8, and there will be another part which will be at minus 16, and you have k is equal to minus 1. Remember, this frequency is actually 8,000 pi, because I am just scaling the time axis by pi into 10 to the power 3, just so I don't have to write too many zeros here. And this frequency is 16 pi. What will be the central frequency for k is equal to 2? So k is equal to 2 will be centered at 24,000 pi, and then to 24,000 pi you will add 4,000 pi and subtract 4,000 pi. So the impulses there at k is equal to 2 are going to be at 28,000 pi, and they are going to be at 20,000 pi. So I hope it's clear, So in the exam, you may get a question is like, what would be the frequency, at what frequency points will the impulses be for k is equal to 2 of the sampled signal? So you should be able to evaluate these kind of things. Okay, so let's look at another problem. I hope this is clear, and if it isn't, then anybody can anyone can unmute themselves and they can ask me how I went about this. But I think this is something that we did only very recently, maybe last week, so I think it should be fresh. But now we're going to look into something which is slightly it'll give you a very interesting result. So let's look at that problem. Okay, so another question is, if I need to recover my signal back, suppose I need to recover cos 4,000 pi t from this, so what should be the range of the low pass filter that I will employ, and what should be the amplitude of that low pass filter? So what I basically want to ask is that I will obviously employ a low pass filter, and as mentioned before that there is no aliasing. So if this is the low pass filter's frequency response, this is omega. So I'm interested in you telling me what would be the value of omega c and what will be its amplitude A? That is what I want to know. So if anyone can give me an answer to this question. This was the problem. Basically, this was your main signal. I need to recover this back. Okay, that means I need to recover this from this spectrum. From this spectrum, I need to recover this spectrum. For that, I would need a low pass filter. My question is, what is the value of omega c and what is the amplitude?
4000 pi greater than 4000 pi.
Greater than 4000 pi, but that's what you say?
Yes, sir.
But it could be any value greater than 4000 pi, or do you think that there has to be an upper limit also to it?
Sir, upper limit 8000.
Yes, yeah. So basically the answer is this. So answer is that it would be somewhere between 4000 pi and it could be, slightly less. It would be slightly lesser than 8000 pi. The reason is that if you look at this thing, all I need to do is that I need to get this part out. So if I need to get this part out, that means that my frequencies, this is basically my omega c. So this omega c will, lie between 4 and 8. So it can be 4, but it cannot be 8 because then it will include 8 also, and then I'll not get my signal back. So it will be less than 8, slightly less than 8 it can be, but it certainly can be 4 or more than 4. And if you look at it, the amplitude here was pi, but for these signals the amplitude is pi divided by t. So I need something that gives me pi back from pi by t. So that means this would be that the amplitude for this is going to be t. So if I have something like this, if I have a low pass filter, this is a low pass filter. LPF stands for low pass filter. So if I have a low pass filter with these characteristics, I will be able to get back the original signal from this sampled version. Okay. So let me just let me just look at another problem. Okay, now let's take, suppose I say that there is an xt which is cos 6000 pi t. Okay, and the sampling period is 1 upon 6000 seconds. Now my question is, first of all, create an xn. So that is the first thing. And second is, will there be aliasing?
So yes, there will be aliasing.
Yeah.
Xn would be cos of 4n t by 3.
Okay. So basically it will be cos. Yeah, that's right, Isha. Thank you. So you have, you'll be pi n divided by 6000. That will be it. So you'll get cos 4 you'll get, or what will you get?
So it will be 16,000 pi upon 12,000 pi. So
No, it will be capital T only, na? NT lag raha hai na?
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, so just a second. So,
8 pi by 3.
yeah, so it will be basically 8 pi n by 3. Right? So this will be your xn. Okay. Now the question is whether will there be an aliasing or not. So if you look at it, then my omega m is 16,000 pi. And if I look at my omega s, that is 2 pi by t, which comes out to be 12,000 pi. Obviously, there will be aliasing because omega s is certainly less than omega m, twice of omega m. Actually, it is even less than omega m, so it will obviously be less than twice of omega m. So yes, there will be aliasing. Okay, now, so let's look at this. So we have xct, and xct is given by cos, what is it, 16? Yeah, okay. It is 16,000 pi t. Okay. So what will be its spectrum? If I ask xc j omega, so if you had to plot the spectrum, so it'll be pi delta omega minus 6,000 pi plus delta pi plus 6,000 pi. Okay, so how does this look like? So this looks like quite similar to what we have been doing. You have a impulse here, and you have an impulse here, and you get 6. So again, let's do 10 to the power 3 multiplied by 5. So you get it at 16 and minus 6. This is fairly simple, and this amplitude is of course pi. Okay. But now let's look at what will be the, if suppose you're sampling it at that period. So now the question is that you have xct, which is cos 16,000 pi t, and you are sampling it of course at 6,000 seconds, 1 upon 6,000. Then what is the spectrum of xsj omega? What is the spectrum? Try to plot it. It will be obviously aliased, but what will be the spectrum? So we are actually plotting the spectrum of an aliased signal. Okay, so try to do it and tell me what will that be.
So for k equal to 1, there would be an impulse at
Just a second. I think I've done a small mistake, and the mistake is this: that this would be pi only. Sorry, this will be 1 upon t, but a pi will come because xc has a pi in its Fourier transform. Okay, so this would be 1 upon t only, but when you substitute xc, then a pi will come and the amplitude becomes pi by t. So I just wanted to correct this. This amplitude is 1 upon t. Yeah, so yeah, you were saying something.
Sir, for k equal to 1, one impulse at -4 and one impulse at 28. For k equal to -1, one impulse at 4 and one at -28, and so on.
Yeah, so if you look at it, let me just draw it. So the axis is again pi into 10 to the power 3 into omega. Okay, this is the axis. So if you look at it, then you will get 1. Initially you have, just a second. Let's just take it as long as we can. Okay. So this is at what, 16? Yeah. And you have one impulse here at -16. Okay. Now, what did you say? The next impulse for k is equal to 1. One impulse shifts to
-4 and 28.
It shifts to -4 and 28, right? So
Yes.
So you get 1 at 28, and then you get 1 at -4. Okay. And what would be the other one? it will go from
minus
it will go to
28 and 4.
minus 28 and 4, right? So you'll have minus 28 and 4. Okay. Tell me, where would k equal to 2 go?
Sir, 40 and 8.
40 and 8, right? So then you will go to 40 and you will go to 8. And that will go to minus 40 and it will go to minus 8. Right now, if you look at this spectrum, you had 1 at 4, you had 1 at 8, you had 1 at 16 impulses, you had 1 at minus 4, you had 1 at minus 8, you had 1 at minus 16. If you look at this, you have 1 at 4, you have 1 at 8, you have 1 at 16, minus 4, minus 8. So if you proceed with the previous problem, you are going to get the same spectrum that you obtained here. Do you understand what I'm trying to teach you? I'm trying to teach you the following fact, that if you look at the spectrum of the sampled signal, even if it is sampled at the same sampling interval, they could be of different XCTs. So if you look at it, are you convinced that these spectrums are similar? I hope you are, because if you take more components, you will get all these frequencies over here, which will be exactly like this spectrum. So let me just summarize what I want to say. I want to say this, that if you have XCT, which was cos 4000 pi t, and you had sampled it at 1/6000 seconds, there was no aliasing. Okay. Then on the other hand, you have an XCT which is cos 16,000 pi t, and you're sampling it at the same interval, and there is aliasing. But if you look at the spectrum, here, and if you look at the spectrum here, then they are alike. So, but in this case, you can recover the signal. And in this case, recovery is not possible. So the point I want to make is this: if I give you a spectrum, if I give you just a spectrum and I give you a sampling rate, then do you think it is possible for you to tell me what XCT was?
No, sir.
It isn't. And this is basically the feature which is embedded in the secrecy that I told you once, that this kind of a sampling results in discrete time signals, which give us some sort of a secrecy, that even if because suppose I wanted to transmit this signal, and you sample it at some frequency and some spectrum goes, and if you try to recover it, you will not get this signal, you will in fact get this signal. Because let's say that you get a spectrum, and the spectrum is same for this also and for this, both the things are same, and I say, okay, I give you one filter जिसका ओमेगा सी जो है वो क्या कहते हैं, let me just say that it is 7,000 pi. Okay, so if you apply 7,000 pi to this, you will definitely get the signal back. If you apply 7,000 to this, you will get this signal back. Though, this was actually the spectrum for this signal and it's aliased. So, just by looking at the spectrum, this is an important property. I mean, it's a spooky feature that, you can have spectrums that will look the same, and you have basically sampled two different continuous time signals at the same sampling interval. But when you look at the spectrum, it'll be difficult for you to say that, whether the spectrum belongs to the first signal or it belongs to the second signal. So this is just one, inherent, spookiness that comes when you, get some discrete time signals. So, this was something that I wanted to, point out. Then there is another thing that I want to, say about sampling and, some of its peculiar features. So suppose you have cos 16,000 pi t given to you, okay, and I have sampled it at 6,000, 1 upon 6,000 seconds. I do the same thing, and so what xn I get? I get cos 8 pi n by 3. Okay. So what happens is, writing cos, so this thing I can write like this also. Right? I mean, there is nothing wrong in this. It's just cos 2 pi. If you do the math, you get 8 pi again. But if you look at some trigonometric properties, it gives you cos 2 pi n by 3. Right? So you see that I took this signal and I got a xn, which is this. But then knowing some trigonometric properties, once I got xn, which is this, I can also get an xn, which is this. But this signal will not actually, once reconstructed, will give you back this. So what I want to tell you, what I said to you in spectrum, because if you plot, because when you plotted the spectrum of this was similar to the spectrum of this, but this will never give you this with this sampling frequency. So basically the point is that the sequences, so the point is that cos 8 pi n by 3 and cos 2 pi n by 3 are essentially similar sequences. When you look at their spectrum, are essentially similar in their spectrum. At capital T equal to 1 upon 6,000 seconds. They obviously have the same spectrum, but one will be reconstructed, but the other will not be reconstructed. That is the point I want to make. So you can see that, initially we developed a spectrum for this signal, if you remember. This was the signal here. Here. This was basically the signal. And we got a spectrum like this. And when we took a signal this, then also we got a spectrum like this. But essentially the XCT are different. So that kind of an inherent confusion always is there in sampling. And this can be taken advantage of when we have to, send secret messages. All right, so that's it. And I hope I am clear about the way the paper has to happen. I repeat again because I think there were some students earlier who were not there. So just for their clarity, I'm going to say this again. There are just about 14 people. Why are people not attending classes? I don't understand. Just because there are exams, probably one of the important information comes only in those last classes before the exam. I think I'm going to stop uploading the videos because what happens is that there is a complacency that video will be uploaded and we'll see the video and not attend the class. So I'll not upload any videos from now onwards. I'll just be uploading the PDFs of what we do in the class. And I think since there'll be a continuous assessment from the day we finish the first sessional, please announce it. I'll also write it on the group that now for this period, there will be quizzes every week till 17th, 18th, 19th November. And I will give some assignments every week for you people to turn it in to show participation. And I don't know, maybe I'll look into the attendance also of who are coming. So though formally we cannot give attendance weightage, but I will certainly have some marks in my hands to ensure that you people come and attend classes more seriously. All right, thank you. I'll let you know whether we'll have a class tomorrow or not because there isn't much to discuss. We've already done enough numericals. So most likely we will not have a class, but in case we do, I will let you know by evening. All right. So you know the syllabus, it's up to sampling that we have done. And there'll be 10 questions in Examiner. There will be MCQs, but obviously you'll have to solve. So whatever you solve, you please solve it as if you're giving an exam in the examination hall very nicely, cleanly. And once you submit your Examiner answers, you upload the A4 sheets in PDF format on Google Form, because I'm going to put the paper that I have given to you in Examiner on Google Form just as an assignment. And once you start doing the paper, so at 11:45 I will upload it, and I would expect you people to give me a turned in response by 12:55. If anybody submits after 12:55, I'm not going to accept it, and whatever are your marks in Examiner will remain your marks. If you turn it in before 12:55, then I'm going to go through your step markings also for those questions that you have done incorrectly. There I will give you marks based on your step marking, just so the examination that I am conducting is as close as the examination that you would have given in the offline mode. That is basically the idea, both in control systems as well as DSP. All right. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.